Globally, we need assistance with the partnership of the federal government to stop the flow of guns in our cities.
Other countries have taken common sense steps to keep guns away from criminals, and they have succeeded in saving countless lives. We stand alone in the world with the number of mass shootings and deaths from guns. And as you can see in this chart, the American people overwhelmingly support gun safety reform. So, Mr. Cipollina, in your view, why has Congress failed to adopt these common sense measures that most Americans and most countries in the world have adopted?
Well, to put it bluntly, Chairwoman, the gun lobby presents a formidable obstacle in this country.
Gun lobby.
Oftentimes, and you've heard it already today,
Right.
The Second Amendment is used as a reason to not advance common sense gun reforms, even while the court has not said that the very reforms that you're proposing would violate. Quite the opposite, the courts have upheld over and over and over again. So the lobby what it sees as its job to make every gun law one step closer to confiscation, which is a lie. Conspiracies abound about the government coming to take your guns. And that gets into the head of well-meaning lawmakers.
Well-meaning lawmakers?
That, people will believe that those myths are true. They're not true. We can do an awful lot to save American lives by passing these laws.
I'm going to call absolute bullshit on this whole lobby argument. Yes, the lobbies maybe started this thing, right? We didn't start the fire. So they have created an atmosphere, basically decades of brainwashing the American people in pursuit of profits. In the pursuit of profits, they have ran this campaign for decades long, paid for politicians to, as usual, this is the way things work in America. These corporations, they buy the politicians and they legislate accordingly. So bought and paid off politicians have followed the guidance of these corporations, these gun manufacturers, to legislate in a way that they can have the most profit. Which senators have benefited the most from NRA money? Let's find out. Data. Mitt Romney, 13 million. Richard Burr, 6.9 million. Roy Blunt, oh yeah, 420. Actually 4.5 million. Tom Tillis, 4.4 million. These are all in million, guys. Mark Rubio, 3.3. Johnny Ernst, 3.1. A lot of Republicans here. Rob Portman, 3. Todd C. Young, 2.8. Bill Cassidy, 2.8. Tom Cotton, 1.9. Pat Toomey, 1.4. Marsha Blackburn, 1.3. Mitch McConnell, 1.2. Ronald McDonald Johnson, 1.2. Mike Braun, 1.2. I think you get the point. Chuck Grassley, Ted Cruz, Roger Wicker. Some dishonest people will try to pretend as if. So basically, if I want to whitewash any of these types of donations, what I can do is find some lobby that's larger and point out that fact. So pick any topic, anything that involves lobbying, and you simply do this deflection tactic of find a bigger lobbying organization and say, 1.2 million? What about the 3 million that comes from Big Pharma? 1.3 million from Big Pharma? What about the 3 million from fill in the blank? However, the train has left the station. They have created a monster that is well beyond the gun lobby. The entire Republican Party is basically the NRA at this point. The rhetoric that much of it, not all of it, that has come from the NRA has been adopted by the conservative ideology in this country, right? They attach guns to their identity. So it's really, really difficult to have a conversation about these things. A conversation about gun control is a conversation trying to convince people that their ideology is incorrect or problematic, and good luck doing that. So it's not just a topic of like, okay, what do you think about gun control? It's a topic about, hey, I'm challenging your ideology. I think it's incorrect. But the real reason why things haven't changed today, 2022, right? Not back in the day when the NRA was actually a really big deal. Not so much now. The reason why Congress refuses to act is because they don't have to. This is a democratic republic, constitutional republic, whatever word you like best. Power from the people. Our government does what it needs to do. Our government does what it must. Gun control is not something that our politicians need or must do. They can ignore it and do nothing and just do rhetoric and still win elections. Until that changes, nothing fundamentally will change. Sure, in some blue states, they'll add on some more restrictions or whatever, which will be not quite pointless, but very, very limited in terms of the effect, because in a country like this, you can't have half the states, or less, having a lot of sensible gun control and the rest just being sort of wild, wild west, or at least a lot less regulated, because criminals will simply cross the borders and get their guns elsewhere. right? But ultimately, again, our government only does what we force them to do, which is something for the Second Amendment folks to also consider. They have this idea of the government, tyranny and all this kind of stuff. Government gets its power from us. They get the money and power from us. So the idea that they can do something that we the people don't want and are willing to stand up against, I don't mean taking up arms. You don't need to pick up a gun. 2022? No. You simply devastate them at the polls and see how quickly they turn around, right? So again, the reason why nothing changes and nothing really fundamentally will change going forward is because there's really no reason that our government needs to. They will continue to win elections by doing nothing. Just like with healthcare, just like with everything else that the government fails to do, it's basically they can go as far as the American people allow them when it comes to inaction or actual actions. What they do and what they don't do is constrained by the people, right? If they go outside of the bounds of what the people will let them do, they lose power and money because we all have the power to remove them from power. We can fire every single corrupt Republican and Democrat if we so choose. But in most cases, for the things that really matter, we choose not to act. We will post on Facebook, we will complain and cry and whine and moan. And when our side loses power, we'll take to the streets until our side gets in power, then we go back to sleep. At some point in time, the American people need to take accountability for what's happening in their country. We don't live in a dictatorship, right? So the most powerful force in this country is you. Until you realize that, nothing will change. The biggest scam in this country from our government is making you think you don't have any power, or if you need guns to utilize that power. In 2022, not even a single bullet needs to be fired to get our government to do the right thing. We control what they do. But right now, again, you can win elections without doing anything. And that's why they do nothing. Wake up. This is the Baby Channel. The comment section below. Click on the like button, subscribe, smash that bell. Be well.